Friday morning, everyone. I'm so glad to have you here today. This is another one of our episodes in August talking about things that we find important as our kids are going back to school. So this is our back to school edition for the whole month of August. I'm very pleased to have with me an expert whom I've known for many, many years, and many of you know her too. We have joining me today, if I could talk, that would be helpful, Susan Knoppow.
Knoppow, good.
Say it again.
I've known you for more than 10 years. It's okay. Knoppow.
I can never say your last name.
Okay.
Susan's one of the founders of the WOW Writing Workshop. And you also see Carmen. She is our person that helps keep us straight and organized. She'll see your chats and things like that. So as you join today, let Susan and let Carmen know, and everybody else know who you are. So put your name in the chat. I've made sure it works this week. So we've got that covered, and where you're from. And so we've got several people. I know this has, again, been a real popular session with lots of people registering. So
I love seeing it all pop up one at a time.
So we've got
location, name, location.
Oh, glad to have you, Lisa. I'm glad to see you. She's at a school that's not too far from me. So welcome. We have people here who are from schools, from CBOs, independents, and lots of times we have people from all over. Looks like Marcia from Salt Lake, Maryland, LA. Oh, Monica, welcome. I have no idea what time it is in Geneva, Switzerland. I know we often have people from Colombia, and glad to have you. So as we're getting started, let's talk about what's going to be next week. We're going to have a session on careers and clarity. So if you haven't registered for that yet, you can do so through my website at cindymcdonald.com, and you can register. We're going to have Lisa Marker Robbins with us in the last week of August. So Susan, let's talk about the dreaded why essay, the one we all love to hate and our students love to hate. So tell us a little bit more. And I know you've got a presentation you're going to share. So let's go ahead and get you started on that.
All right. So first of all, so glad to be here. Thank you, Cindy, for the invitation. I love speaking to your people, and I see names I know. So this is fun. I see a lot of names I don't know, and I see a lot of names that I do know. And I'm going to talk about the dreaded essay, the dreaded why essay. I'm hoping that by the time we're done today, it won't be so dreaded, that it will just take its place among other essays, and you'll say, oh yeah, I can handle that, no problem. And I can calm my students down if it makes them nervous. Maybe they can even write essays that are a little more meaningful than the basic, the basics that you're used to. And also, we can come to terms with the fact that some of those basics that students come up with on their own are really okay, because those really are the reasons that they want to go to those schools, study those majors. The fact that we have seen all of those before does not make them not good answers. So
you're telling me if they say they want to go to NYU because it's in New York City, that's okay?
It's okay as part of the story. It cannot be the only, if it's the only reason, and it doesn't show any reflection other than I once went to a Broadway show where my aunt lives there and it's really fun to hang out in Times Square. So yes, it's not sufficient, but if that is one of the reasons, it's okay to include it, partially because that helps students feel good about their ideas. And I believe strongly, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, that it's important to help students lower the stakes, and sometimes allowing them to keep the cliches calms them down, because it's what they came with. It's what they arrived with. And as long as that's not the whole thing, as long as they don't say, yeah, I want to go to the University of Wisconsin because I love Big Ten football. If they want to mention it, I mean, I just discourage that. I don't think that's what the university really cares to know about. But it's okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. What to include, why to include it, and how we, as the coaches and the counselors and IECs, can help students understand the prompt and come up with answers that are meaningful and that feel authentic to them, not like we're trying to draw out reasons. Oh, I never thought about that. Yeah, that's really why I want to go there. If it is, great, because sometimes we are good at asking the questions and getting the real reasons, and sometimes they feel like they're trying to like impress somebody. And I feel that a lot of what we're trying to do is help them get out of that impressive mode, because they're already impressive. They already are. So here's how I want to start. I do have a presentation. Okay. We're going to hope that my slides show up the way they're supposed to. So if you get my notes for the first slide, we'll switch the screens. But my first question for everyone here is, and I'd like you to put this in the chat, please. What is it that makes this the dreaded essay for you? When you hear that and you either say, no, not at all for me, but here's what I think for other people, or here's what that means for my students, or here's why I hate these essays, or here's why they make me nervous. So just give me a quick answer. Why are they the dreaded essays? Andrea, this is good. Why? Because they require research. Yes, definitely so. What else? Because they're boring. Okay. Tina says, I agree with Andrea. Ditto, yeah. What else? Why are they so dreaded? Why are these so problematic for you, for your students? Or maybe they're not. Who says they're not dreaded? It's hard to stand out, right? Marcia says, because students feel they need to come up with something unique and it's not always possible. So that's where we come in. We can help them understand they don't have to be unique. They are unique, but they don't have to appear unique, okay? There's no original answer left. They sound forced. They're afraid of coming off as cliche or for being a stupid reason, right? Like, oh, I have a dumb reason for wanting to go there. Frankly, the fact that, this college is affordable and it's my state university and my parents gave me a choice of 3 schools could be an answer. It may not make a dynamic essay, but, it could be an answer, right? Carmen says, only being on the writing side, it's hard to get all my reasons, wants, desires, and combination of life story on one page. Oh, that is a very tall order. I'm going to say you don't have to get all of it on one page. How about that? We'll lower the stake again. And Tara said, yeah, they're rarely interesting to read. So here's where we have to make a distinction between what's interesting for us and what's useful to our readers. So we're going to talk about that in a little while also. Excellent. All right. Thanks everyone for sharing that. I'm going to hope to address all of those issues. I am now going to try to share my slides, and let's make sure that I can share my screen. And here we go. PowerPoint. Let's see if this works. Ready, set. Oh no, that's not the right view. One day, somebody is going to come up with a way to make it really easy to share a PowerPoint in Zoom, because it just is never that easy, right? No, this isn't the one I want. Let's go to PowerPoint. That is, here we go. That's why this is a problem. Okay, view, presenter, and now we're going to share. There should be 5 minutes in every presentation while the presenter figures out how to share their presentation, right? So now we're going to share this. Now you are seeing everything.
Yeah,
oh, it did it again.
Started screen sharing.
All right.
And you see the black screen again.
Yeah, let me do this. Let's see. Presenter. Now I'm screen sharing. Okay, so are you seeing notes or are you seeing? Yeah,
I'm seeing presentation.
Yeah, me too.
It looks good.
Oh, did I
now
mess
I'm
it
seeing
up?
notes.
Now we're seeing notes.
Yeah, back to the other way.
Let's start again.
There we go.
Nothing. See, if you do this a lot, nothing can phase you, right? It doesn't bother me. No problem. We'll all make it work. Okay. Yeah, I'm back. Good.
Yes,
so when Cindy sent this information to you, here's a session description. I want to read it to you because I think this is important for us to remember why we're here today. Most colleges want to know why a student is applying to their illustrious campus. Now, the illustrious campus, right? They know they're great. They know they're amazing. They have all kinds, they have departments dedicated to communicating to you and to students and everyone who will listen why they're incredible. So they already know that part, right? But most students don't fully know what their why is. Why do I actually want to go here? Because it's on a list, because my cousin goes there and I visited last fall and it was really fun, because my dad went to school there, because my counselor suggested it, because they have a major I'm interested in. They don't always know. And that's okay. Remember, they're 17. They're probably 16 when they made this original list. They don't really know. How can you help them figure it out? There's the research we talked about, and share their reasons. The sharing the reasons is making the essay readable, and if not dynamic and unique, at least interesting enough to hold the reader's attention. So let's turn to an expert. That's me. I'll tell you a little bit more about my credentials. And we're going to talk about the ins and outs of why essays, and also sharing strategies and tips that you can apply to other supplements as well. So my goal here is not only to talk about why essays. I want to talk about what principles, this is what we always do. This is sort of the wow way of doing things. I want to share principles that are going to help you with all sorts of essays. So I'm going to encourage you to send questions in the chat and the Q&A. I know we've got Carmen to help manage that, and I can also check as we go along. Please send questions as you go along. If I don't answer them as we go along, I will certainly get to them. And I want you to know that you can always send me questions. I will always answer. Those of you who have ever sent me a question, you know, I always answer. So send me an email. Please do. I love them. I love hearing from colleagues, and I love knowing your questions. So Carmen has asked for put your questions in the Q&A. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So who am I? What am I doing here? For those of you who don't know me, I am the CEO of WOW Writing Workshop. WOW's been around for 13 years, but my partner, Kim Lifton, and I have been helping students with application essays informally for many more. That's how a lot of us got into this business, right? People ask you to look at their writing, and here we are running a business on it. I've been teaching writing for almost 30 years, both in classrooms and independently. And I'm a professional writer. I'm a poet. I'm an essayist. I worked in marketing and communications. I was a speechwriter for many years. I've worked with big corporations, I've worked with nonprofits and small businesses, but now this is the full-time thing Kim and I do while writing workshop. So what makes this unique, and why am I here today? Why did Cindy ask me about this? Because our perspective and experience as writers and teachers is unique. We know how the writing process works. We are writers. Our coaches are writers. They are fiction writers. They are poets. They are teachers. We know how to share our process and our insights with both students and professionals. And many of you have been through our professional training. I want to give you a quick overview of what we offer for professionals, so you know a little bit more about what it is that we can do beyond today's session. But I will also let you know that I have a whole page of resources for you at the end. I'm not going to give you the link yet because I don't want you to go there and start clicking around, but I have resource pages, copies of these slides, tip sheets, all kinds of great tips and tools for you, things you can use with your students. And if I don't give you what you need, like I said, you're going to send me an email and you're going to ask me for it so that you can get the resources you need. So while we write and we teach writing, college essay, that's our specialty. Like I said, we work with students. We also work with professionals. Let me give you a quick rundown. We offer free pro chats once a month. Our next one is the second Wednesday in September. We have a program. I see some of our members here in the college essay community. It's a membership program. It goes for a year. We cover anything and everything college essay. So we'll do sessions on supplements and sessions on brainstorming and essay reviews and dealing with parents and what to do late in the season and what to do early in the season and group workshops and individual one-on-one. That's the college essay community. College essay experience is our signature training program. So when someone says, have you done the WOW training? What they're talking about is college essay experience, or CEE as we call it. It's our next groups are going to start in January. We do this. It's now gone from 3 months to half the year to about 2/3 of the year. The demand is amazing. We love it. This year we trained 135 counselors and consultants, which was a blast. We love it. And finally, our partners program, which is sort of the advanced training for people who want even more in-depth. It's also a community, also a membership program. You have to have done CEE to join the partners. And finally, we have what we call a college essay consult, which is a one-on-one problem solving session. So that's it for services. Let's get into the meat of today's session. So what are Why Us essays? It's an opportunity. That's the most important thing I want to leave you with. A Why Us essay is an opportunity. So for all of its finickiness and students, the essays might be boring sometimes, or it's hard to sound unique, or all the reasons that make them dreaded, as we said, it is an opportunity. And even if the student takes the tiniest bit of that opportunity, it's okay. We need to lower the stakes for ourselves, because the calmer we are, the calmer our students will be. The more in control we feel, the more students will trust us and follow our lead. So it's an opportunity to share more. So by the time they write this essay, they've already written a personal statement, at least in our world. They've already written the Common App personal statement. Some of them have already written their UC PIQs. For some of them, this is the first essay they'll write beyond the personal statement. For those of you who have ever heard me speak or been through any kind of training that we do, free or paid, you know that we consider the Common App personal statement to be the teaching essay. So everything, and I want you to think about this. So whether you ever go to any of my training or not, doesn't matter. You can do this. Think about the Common App, not just as, or whatever first essay you have them write. If you start with UCs, great. Whatever the first essay is, when they're writing about themselves in sort of more general terms, think of that as an opportunity to teach them how essays work, how to read a prompt, how to think about topics, how to think about writing and revision, how that process is going to work. And it's an opportunity for you, for all of us, to learn about the student. So when I work with a student on the Common App essay, and I'm going to show you how this fits with the why essays, when I'm working with them, I'm paying attention to their willingness and ability to do the work. I've got a student who's a deep thinker, a complex thinker, who's super curious, digs into everything. Their why essays are going to be more interesting for me. Let's be blunt about it. If I have a student who goes this deep in their Common App personal statement, I am not going to press them to write the most creative why essay I've ever seen, because that student doesn't think that way. I'm not judging that one essay is better or worse than the other. I'm saying that the first one might be more interesting for me because it might be a little different from things I've seen before, but I'm paying attention to, do they meet deadlines? Are they interested in digging deeper? How far do they go in their revisions? Do they really understand what this is all about? Are they truly committed to these schools, or is this just a list that someone put together for them? So the Common App is the teaching essay for them and for me. And here I'm learning about them and they're learning about the process. And that makes a big difference. Because why us essays these kind of essays ask a lot of different kind of questions. So why us in general? Why are you interested? The big picture. Why this school or program? Why this major? Why this career? The essays are different. They're not all the same. And they don't just differ by length. They also differ by focus. And that's why it's, like I said, it's important to use your first essay as a teaching essay to share the process. This is our process. And this graphic is available to you in the resource page. I show you this, not because you have to follow these 10 steps, but these are our 10 steps. Everything we do works through the same 10 steps very intentionally. Why? Because if I tell a student that every essay begins with a prompt, every time we work on an essay, first we're going to understand the prompt. They know what I'm talking about because that's what I modeled when we did their first essay. Next, we're going to brainstorm ideas. In my world, brainstorming ideas means I'm going to send them some pre-work questions, and I'm going to share some samples of those questions with you. Then they come up with some ideas, and then we discuss them. I like to start where the students start. So Cindy said, what if they say, I want to go to NYU because I want to live in New York? If that's what they come with, that's what they start with, I'm not going to let them stop there, but I'm not going to tell them that's not good enough. I'm going to help them expand their thinking, and I'm going to give them questions. And in my pre-work for NYU, it says, beyond just being in New York City, why else do you want to come here? So I'm addressing it. And then I'm saying, okay, give me more. But they need to come up with a little bit up front. Focus on theme. In this case, I want them to know before they start writing a draft, what do they want to include and why do they want to include it? A big mistake that a lot of counselors make, and the most experienced, wonderful counselors, some of them are my dear friends, is just sitting and talking to a student and then sending them home and saying, go write. We have an interim step. The interim step is write down what you're going to include and why you're going to include it. In the Common App personal statement, we call that their theme. What happened? Why does it matter? In a why essay, it's often, what do I want to tell the school? What do I want to include? Why do I want to come here? And the other half is, why am I sharing this? And I'm going to show you a sheet that you can show your students that very simply illustrates that. Then we go on to free writing and first draft. That's all content. It can be the most boring essay with the most boring beginning, middle, and end you've ever seen. Content. If they get the content, then you can move into structure. Then you can look at, where do I start? How do I move through it? How much time do I spend talking about why I want to live in New York City? About this much time. But I let them have it in the content. They can write 2 paragraphs about it. I don't care, because we're going to get rid of most of it later. And we're going to fill that in with more meaningful details. And finally, we look at polish. Polish is typical editing, proofreading, that kind of thing. So I want you to have that model in mind when we talk about the why essay. So step 1, understand the prompt. What's this prompt asking? What do I know about myself? What do I know about the school or the program or the major, whatever the why question is? And how do we fit? So let's look at some examples. So Tufts, for example. Which aspect of Tufts curriculum or undergraduate experience prompts your application? In short, why Tufts? Why Tufts? Big picture question. Curriculum, undergraduate experience. My pre-work questions for this prompt helps the student explore many, 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 many areas. Carnegie Mellon, many students pursue college for a specific degree, career opportunity, or personal goal. Oh, 3 totally different things. Whichever it may be, learning will be critical. We want to talk about learning. I don't want to know that you're interested in living in Pennsylvania. It's not what I'm asking, right? As you think ahead to the process of learning during your college years, how will you define a successful college experience? This is a why essay. This is a why are you coming here? This is still what is a successful college experience, and how will you get it here? A little bit. It's under the surface, but it's still a why essay. But all of these point to the same thing. What do you know about yourself? Let's go back. What is the prompt asking? So let's go, deeply into the prompt. What do I know about myself? What am I looking for? What do I know about the school, the program, the major, the career, the experience? And how do we fit together? Why is this going to be the right place for me to have this experience that I'm looking for? Now, let's look at a variation on this, because this is newer. And I have to thank my amazing business partner, Kim Lifton, for this, because Kim's background, well, my experience is in teaching, in professional development, in instructional design and developing courses. Kim's a journalist. Kim is curious and wants to know everything. So Kim looks for trends. And this is what Kim is seeing this year. I just saw this today. She wrote this up. For those of you who are in our partners program, I know that she shared this, and I believe it might be in the community too. And if not, I'm going to post this. So she said, I've been noticing, I'm just reading from a note that she wrote, that she posted in one of our forums. I've been noticing some colleges have tweaked the Why College X prompt to include community. So she said, let's use Duke, for example. Last year, Duke's Why prompt asked, please share with us why you consider Duke a good match for you. Is there something in particular about Duke's academic or other offerings that attract you? All right, academic or other offerings, that's interesting, but they changed it just a little bit. What is your sense of Duke as a university and a community? And why do you consider it a good match for you? So not just please share with us. I said, what do you know about Duke? Right? So let's go back to that again. What did I say before? What's it asking? What do I know about me? What do I know about them? And how do we fit? So if there is something, now the original question was a yes or no question. Is there something in particular that attracts you? The new prompt says, if there is something in particular about our offerings doesn't say academic, doesn't say other, our offerings that attracts you, feel free to share that as well. So that's sort of a secondary thing. Oh, by the way, what makes this a good place for you, right? What is your sense of Duke as a university and a community? What do you know about Duke? When you think of Duke, what do you think of? Tell us about it. Tell us about us in your own words. And why is it a good match for you? So here's you, here's Duke. If there's something in particular, if you know about a class or a program or a major or some community here, and they're asking about community, they want to know, can the student thrive here? Does the student know? It seems like they want to know a little bit more. Do they have an understanding of the institution as a place they can learn and also as a community where they can fit in? So it's asking them how are they a fit academically and more culturally, socially in a different way. And that gets me to my favorite Venn diagram. I've been using this for years and years and years. I have not come up with a better way to explain this. Students love this. My colleagues love this. My team and I all use this. What attracts me to this place, to this experience, to this community, to this major, to whatever? What do I want readers to know about me? And how does what I know about the program mesh with what I want readers to know about me? How can I illustrate it? So this is where we make the essay a little more interesting. It's not just about I'm looking for survey courses combined with small seminars. I'm looking for survey courses combined with small seminars. I know that at fill in the blank university, I will probably take at least one large lecture course my freshman year. And I also know that the freshman seminar or the whatever they call it at your school, fill in the blank with a real answer, is a valuable way will be a valuable way for me to get to know my peers and dig deep into a subject. For example, I participated in a junior senior seminar at my school where every student had to participate in discussion and even lead the discussion at least once a semester. And the day that I led our session on, this book was one of my most interesting and challenging and exciting days because it challenged me to do something I had never done before. And I loved that experience of engaging in a way that was different than just a teacher talking to students. Now, many, many, many students could use that example, of course. But if it's a personal example, if it's a real, so a lot of students could say, I'm looking forward to having big classes and small classes. That sounds really cool. And at the University of Michigan, I'm going to get to do that. Okay. But being able to say, I went to my local community college and took a medieval history course in a room with 100 people, and I'd never had that experience before, and I actually kind of liked it. It was really interesting listening to this expert give a lecture. At the same time, at my school, most classes have 15 students in them, and I really enjoy that interaction as well. And to be able to come to a school where that's going to be part of my experience, I'm looking forward to it. So here's what I know about the school. I know a lot of things about the school. I can't tell you all of them. I know a lot of things about myself, but here's where they mesh. And the key here is to think strategically. So answer the question, but also look at all of the supplements together, because a lot of schools have many supplements. These essays do not exist in a vacuum. So a student will have an opportunity to let's take a Common App school, because there's so many of them now, like 1,000 of them now. So you have your Common App essay, you have your activities, you have your teacher recommendations, you have your list of classes, you have all of your information, it's all in there. think strategically, look at all the essays that you're going to have to write. This is what we tell our students. And we even, when we brainstorm essays, we brainstorm by the school. So we'll show them all the prompts for that school and say, look, you're going to have all these different opportunities. Yeah, it's okay to talk about dance team over here because you're talking about Model UN over there. And you've got a 4.7 grade point average, and you've got A's in all of your really tough academic classes. So it's okay to show that you like to knit, or you like to do hair, or you're really interested in model car racing. It's okay, because they know a lot of things about you, but not just about those interests, because that's not going deep enough, right? It's, I know that when I get to the university, they have a model car club. And I'm so excited because I love model cars. And it's like a really fun thing that I learned about with my uncle when I was in middle school. Now it's a story. Now it's a story about me, and it's a story about the school. And it's, like I said, a dating essay. Here's why we belong together. Not just you like movies and I like movies, but you like horror films and so do I. So let's go see a scary movie together. If it was, we all like movies and it turns out you like rom-coms and I love serious, movies in other languages at art houses, those don't always fit together. We're not going to have such a great time going to see a film together. So it's knowing about the school or about the program or about the major, about the career, and knowing about themselves. So all essays, like I said at the beginning, are an opportunity to share positive characteristics. Schools are great at getting quantitative data. Here's just information about you as a student. They're not so good at getting the qualitative information. They don't know everything about who you are. We tell our students all the time, they know about what you've done. They don't know a lot about who you are. So look at every essay as an opportunity to share positive characteristics to help them see who you are. It's actually in the Common App prompt, right? Who you are beyond grades and scores and da-da-da-da-da-da. Right, there you go. Tell us who you are. Now, we talked about research. Someone mentioned that in our list of why this is the dreaded essay, because it requires research. So any of you who are in the college essay community know that it was back in March of this year. This was so fun. We were talking about the why essays. That was our whole topic for the month. So I had questions at the beginning of the month. People participated in the conversation in our forum. We had a meeting at the end of the month where we talked about these essays. We actually talked about why essays and creative essays and how they actually can be approached in the same way. And any of you who are in that group know that you can go back and look at that conversation anytime you want. So if I've piqued your interest, you can go see it. But what I want to share, and this is in the resources that we're going to share with you at the end of our session today, I share this tip sheet. We generated this together. People started talking about, the research. Oh my God, it's so hard. I don't know where to get. So I gave credit to the people who helped create this tip sheet. And it's got some great ideas on it. It was real. I learned some things. It was amazing. So people started putting ideas in the chat, and then we generated tips based on their experiences, which I found really powerful. And it was a great way to help people think more creatively about research. So I'd encourage you, whatever groups you're in, whatever conversations you're in, try this, ask. Instead of just lamenting, it's so hard, the kids have to do research, it's such a pain, I'm like pulling teeth. Ask your colleagues, what do you do that works? Because there's one small thing there that you've never tried before. There were things here that I've never tried before that you say, aha, that's what I need, or that's what I need for this kind of student. So how do we apply these ideas to other prompts? Community essays, I showed you where there's a little bit of overlap, especially in that Duke essay, and I think we're going to see more of that. The reason Kim was bringing that up is that she's starting to see it in prompts, that schools are looking for more than, they're getting the same thing, right? Why do you want to come here? Because you have a really great physics department. What else do you know about us other than we have a really great physics department? Because we know that. What do you know about us? What do you know about yourself? I think what they're trying to do, in my 13 years of really, really paying close attention to this, I think every year they're trying to come up with better questions to get to the essential question, which is, who are you And essential question number 2 is, how do we know if you belong here? I think that's what they're trying to find out. And so they ask it in a different way, or they revise the prompt, or they think of a different way, or they ask a different question. That's what they're trying to find out. How do you apply this to community essays? How do you apply this to diversity essays? Ah, yes, talk about the dreaded essay. Activity essays, creative essays. Any prompt, you can always go back to the basics. And I've shared a resource in our toolkit that I'm giving you at the end of today's session about applying this concept to all different types of essays. So you will have this as well. Goes back to the basics. Understand the prompt. What is step 1? Make sure students understand the questions. Give them some questions to answer, some pre-work to do before you even settle on what they're going to write about. Have them brainstorm ideas. We ask them to consider different possibilities. Now, once they've written a few essays, the first question we ask them in the pre-work is, how is this why question similar to or different from others you have answered? Because they're not all the same. And I want to make sure that they don't say, I answered a 400-word question like this. All I have to do is now to turn this into a 250-word answer is get rid of 150 words and share examples from this school instead of that school. No, that's not enough. The prompts tend to be different and they're unique in very subtle ways. Then I want them to focus on theme. I want them to know what they're going to write about and why. Then we free write, which is not a messy first draft. It's just stuff. Finally, they write draft 1. We review it. The coach reviews it. Did they answer the question thoroughly? And do they know what they're writing about and why? And then we get into structure and then polish. That's how we approach any kind of essay, any essay for any school, any prompt. So here are the resources. This is what's on the page. I'll actually share the page and show you these slides, the 10-step graphic, guidelines for the why essays, guidelines for other supplements so you can apply these principles, a link to our free book, a link to our free pro chats, and information about our professional training. So I want to quickly show you that, and then I hope you'll fill up the chat with lots and lots of questions because we do have time. And I would love to answer them all. So let me show you that web page and go over here. Let's see. So that page here, I'm going to share with you one more time so that you can see what wonderful stuff we have for you. Here we go. I see the questions coming. Good. That's what I like to see. The more questions, the better. Okay. Now, nope, that didn't work. All right, let's do this. Okay, let's get you over here. I just want you to see, and I really would like you not to have to go here right now and get the stuff. You see my...
It says Susan has started screen sharing.
But it doesn't show you anything. Who even knows why this is doing this? Let's see.
So now we're seeing resources.
You see it? All right. So I just want to give you an overview of what you're going to see here. This is like handing out papers to students during class. You show them, you give them the papers and say, don't look at them now. So I just gave you a link and said, don't go here and start downloading. Instead, I want you to ask questions. So here are the research suggestions that I showed you. These slides from today are 10-step graphics. You can get a picture of how we do this, how to write supplements in general, and the how to write the why essays in particular. So these could be flipped. And then a link to our free pro chats, a link to our free books, and then some more information about our training. So that's that. You will have all of that. It's easy to remember. It's wowwritingworkshop.com/Cindy McDonald. You shouldn't forget that. And like I said, you can always email me and ask questions. So let me start looking at questions. Do we have any questions? What do we have? I see no questions here.
I don't see any.
So let me ask.
I can make some up.
You answered all the questions, Susan. First of all, I want to tell people, if you haven't done the Wow Writing Workshop, I was one of the people that you trained this last year, had a wonderful experience with it. It was very it was very exciting. It was eye-opening, and it was also affirming because I found certain things that I was doing right, which made me feel good, and certain ideas and things that I hadn't really considered, which also was nice to be able to take that and incorporate that in with my students. So definitely something I would highly recommend. One thing that I would ask is there, like, how many drafts is there too many drafts that are too many? So with this essay, supplementals, or any of the essays, is there a certain
when is it too much, right? Yes, that's a great question, and it's a very insightful question, even though it's a simple question, because what it points to for me is how involved do we need to get, and what is it that we're looking for? So I think one of the things, and I would ask Cindy if this is something that you experienced during your training, so I'm glad that you brought that up, so when we take students through any essay, we aim for 3 drafts. Now, each draft could have some writing exercises, could maybe have draft 3.123, but we're really looking at 3 significant drafts. The first draft is that first solid content draft. And we intentionally give the student writing exercises ahead of time and after they've written that draft to help solidify the content. So they might write 5 different things, but it's one serious draft, the thing that feels like an essay. The rest of it is writing exercises. It's answering coaches' questions. Oh, tell me more about that. I'm curious to know why you said that. In our conversation, you said da 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 da, and you didn't write a lot about it. Here's what I remember. What else do you have to say about it? That can be considered writing outside the essay, but that's one draft. Then the second draft is, let's look at how to put this together as a puzzle. What should go first? What should go second? How should I balance? So what's interesting here is that content, you could have 2,000 words of content. 750 of them are in the draft. 300 of them are in a free write that happened earlier. Another 1,000 could be in writing exercises outside the essay, but the student doesn't feel like they have 2,000 words. They feel like they have a 700-word draft, and they need 420 for this essay. I made that up. No essay is really 420 words. But if the closer they get to complete content in the first draft, the less they need to do in future drafts. So what we find is, and I'm sure I would ask you also if you've seen this, as they write more essays, they have to write fewer drafts. Like, they nail it more quickly because they do what we said up front, is they understand the task. They understand what they're trying to do. When we just say to them, write me a draft and I'll give you some feedback, they don't know what they're making. It's like, build me a thing. Like, do you want a car? Do you want a building? Do you want a pencil? Do you want me to make you a cup? What? Oh, just go be creative. Go make me a thing. So they make a thing, and oh, no, that's not the kind of thing I was looking for. I really want a thing that's more like this. So we try to help them understand what the thing is that they're trying to make. So 3 significant solid drafts, and then that structure draft, that's where we spend time in what you would consider like conventional, give me more about this, add this, change that kind of thing. Where often what we'll do is we go back to the content they gave us. Oh, you left this out. I really think that might be helpful. Or you put these 2 things together, but this needs a transition. I don't know why you went from this to this. Those are structure issues. Then polish that final draft, which again might take 3 back and forth times, because I don't want to bombard them with 20 questions at the end, or too many comments, but it's still one draft. The mistake, I think, in reviews, and this is a whole different subject, we can talk about this another time. Essay reviews is combining content structure and polished comments in the same draft, because we as the coach, you as the counselor, you as the IC, don't really know what you're looking for. You're like, oh, I noticed that you're missing a comma here. I really wish I had more information about that. And this thing in the 4th paragraph, that would make a great opening. And this is me talking as a writing teacher. So this is, I said, I've been teaching writing for 30 years. It doesn't matter what kind of writing you're teaching. Putting all that together is overwhelming. I used to do that. I was a good writing teacher when I started working with college essays, but I used to put it all together. And what the student would do is they take the first 3 or 4 comments, and then they either click accept all, and there were questions in the margin. They didn't even read them. And then they were done. I said, well, that's not working. So this is where we learned from the process of teaching our students. And we learned that if we stuck to content, they could focus on that first. They stopped thinking of it as a beautiful object they were trying to fix and polish. And they then focused on, how do I present myself, what I need to present in the way I need to. They kind of relaxed and slowed down. So to answer your question, big picture 3, in reality, 3 could be 7, but they're not like significant drafts.
Okay. So when a student has, and Carmen alluded to this, like they're trying to put their whole life story into this. So they have lots of different things that they can share, and they're all good. How do they pick which one to focus on?
So I love that question. So I'm going to go back. I scrolled back up to Carmen's comment. You can see dogs moving in the background too. It's never dull here. It's hard to get all my reasons, wants, desires, and combination of life story on one page. And that also goes to, someone else said, Marcia says, because students feel they need to come up with something unique, and it's not always possible. It's hard to stand out. And I think these are all the same issue. Nobody asked your student to be unique. Just as we go to the diversity essays, which we could talk about for another hour, nobody asked your student to be diverse. They're looking for a diverse student body. They want a student body made up of all sorts of different students, including regular white bread kids from middle-class households whose parents do have enough money to send them to college, because that's most of the students they're going to meet. So it can't be that they're not looking for those kids, right? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
That's who's going to pay the bill.
Yeah, those kids are going to college, and they can be that kid, and that's okay. In the same way, when you say, why do you want to go to this school? Why do you want to go to Duke? Why do you want to go to NYU? Why Northwestern? Why? Why UC? I mean, it is one of the PIQ options. Why do you want to come here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the question isn't what make it, because remember, we try to help them understand the real prompt, not the like fake mystery spaceship prompt that they're not really asking you, but this is what they're really asking you. There's no secret. The prompt says, what do you know about us? And what makes you a good fit? Do you know enough? And that's where the research comes in, right? The research comes in where we say, have you learned anything about us? Because if the only thing you know is that we're the top university in the state of Virginia or in the Southeast, and therefore this is where you want to go to school, if that's all you know about us, we're not saying you can't come. But it kind of makes me feel like, do you really want to date me? Or I'm just kind of a pretty face and you spotted me on the street and said, let's go out. That sounds great. It's disrespectful, actually, to the college or university. So they didn't ask, though, are you unique or have a unique reason for coming here? They're asking, do we fit? So you don't need to tell your whole life story. In fact, in a why essay, do not tell your whole life story. It's not what they asked for. And this is not at all to pick on Carmen. I love this question because I think a lot of people have this problem that my wants, my desires, it all feels so big. And it's hard enough to apply to college with worried parents. And it's, they didn't all finish their essays over the summer. So it's senior year and they're busy and there's homecoming and there's AP Lang, which they've really been dying to take and are finally taking and finding out it's really taken a lot of time. And they're taking a class at the local college and they're in the marching band. And all of a sudden, now they have to be unique and tell everyone what they want and desire. And it's really overwhelming. So we need them to look back at the prompt and really dig into the question. Monica's, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and that's where your point and recommendation, look at all the essays being required, because then you can see, well, this one will go here, or this part of, what you want to share could go here, and this one can go over here. And that's why I love the PIQs for the University of California, because the students have to write 4 essays. Some of my students will write 5 or 6 before they settle on their 4, and it gives them a lot of content that they can use for some of these other ones too.
Exactly. I want to share one more thing.
Okay.
I do want to show you one of the tip sheets, because I think this will help folks understand what I'm talking about. So, okay, so this is the resource on writing YS essays. So this is a 4-page document that you can use with your students. And I'm very happy to say that we created this. We're very proud of it, because we were asked by ICA to create resources to go with their Access Companion to Common Application. And so this is a resource that's going to be available to a lot of students and a lot of counselors. And we're sharing it with you here separately because it's a really good tip sheet. It takes a lot of our Y essay resources and puts them in one place. So I just want to walk through this because I want you to see this is the level of detail that we're sharing also in the other essay resources, but it follows the same model. So what do they look like? Here's a bunch of sample prompts. So you can see them all together. All different schools asking different kinds of questions. Johns Hopkins is long. Now, these were taken from last year. So you might look at them and say, oh, this one's yes, they're changing as I'm putting this presentation together. In fact, that slide about Duke, I added that this morning because I said, oh, this is a great point. I need to add it. So these will change and this resource will be updated, but probably not by next week. All right, so how should I answer? Here's the graphic I showed you before. There's the college, here's me, or here's the major, here's me, here's the program, here's me, here's the community, here's me. What attracts me? What do I want readers to know about me? And then do the research. Okay, so then I gave you more tips. Here's some ways to help students do the research. You can do the research. Now, don't do the research for them. Please do not do the research for them. I'm telling you, don't do that. But by doing some of this research, whether you're looking at websites, visiting colleges, which I hope you're doing, talking to admissions officers, they'll talk to you. They really will. They will answer your questions.
Yep, they will.
Their job is to help students apply. So they're not like going to look at you and say, I don't want to talk to you, but know something about the school so you can help ask students the kind of leading questions that will help them respond to these prompts effectively. And then here's a chart that we give our students. I don't give them this one comparison, but we ask them, what's the prompt? What's it really asking? What are some, here are the questions for you. These are when I say pre-work questions. If I have a student who's applying to Carnegie Mellon and assuming they have the same question this year, I will ask them, what are you interested in? What careers are you interested in? Why? What does the process of learning mean to you? That's a key phrase in the prompt. I will ask the student up front, think about this before we talk. What will make a successful college experience for you? And then I say, consider academic, social, cultural, and other elements that matter. Maybe this is a student who's been involved in a religious youth group and knows that they have something similar on that campus, or they do some sort of, in sport and there's an intramural or club team available on the campus, or there's an activity they're interested in or a cause they're interested in. What else will make college successful for you? And we keep going. And then we say, this is the example I gave you, what do I know about the school? What do I know about myself? What stories can I share? This is what makes it interesting and unique. And then how to modify this type of essay to fit another prompt. Here's some tips. So that I'm showing you this because I want you to know that, yeah, it's not just big picture. Why do you want to come here? I think that's why it becomes so dreaded, because it just feels, what do you like about me? Is it okay if I say you have a nice, you have nice eyes and I like your clothes? Is that good enough? Or do I have to look into your soul, but I don't really know you? So how do I that's, so what I'm saying here, the reason we like to compare it to a dating essay is that we want students to know that they don't have to be extraordinary. They don't have to be different than anybody else. So I have one last question for the group. I hope that people will type their answers in the chat. What is one thing that now makes the dreaded why essay a little less dreaded than it was an hour ago? So please share. I hope you have answers.
I'm
Share it
sure
in the chat.
I'm sure we all do. I think for me, while people are thinking about that, please use, when you put it in the chat, make sure it's turned to everyone so that everyone can see your answers. Hearing that they don't have to be extraordinary, that they can just be students. And I think that is a key thing that oftentimes creates a lot of stress and anxiety. And oftentimes we inadvertently talk about that in a way that makes them feel like they have to be extraordinary. They have to stand out. So I think that's very helpful.
Exactly. I think, and that's what, we've learned that. We've learned it by doing it. And we've learned it, we say we offer all this training. We listen, we pay attention, we learn from our colleagues, because we find that in sharing, and this goes for students. So think about this. You can learn from your students. Think about what you say that resonates with them. And think about what you say that makes them look like they are going to jump out a window. Because what we say and what they hear are not always the same thing. So when we say, you're really amazing, tell them how amazing you are. I'm 17. I don't think I'm amazing. What are you talking about? I'm going to stay up all night thinking about it. But if I say, what do you like to do? What do they have at this school? Let's do some research. I know that you do. I know you, and I know that you love to do these 6 activities. Oh my gosh, look at this. In this dorm, there's a kitchen, and people bake here, and you love to cook. And the idea that you could live in a community of people who also like to do that. Now, does that make you qualified for their university? No, but it shows that you know something about the place. So I want to see what people said. Knowing that more than 3 drafts are okay, yes. It's not a whole new process. We can work through the why essay the same way as the personal statement, absolutely. The Venn diagram, the dating app analogy, good. Talking about the college's community is not just okay, but ideal, right? I mean, unless they say, look, the University of Michigan, to use it as an example, has a why this program or school essay, why LS&A or engineering or kinesiology, right? Why do you want to be in the Ellis Lloyd Scholars Program? Why do you want to live in this kind of a dorm? And they also have a community essay. So they are keeping them separate. Those are 2 different essays. But now Duke has put them together. And that is one essay. So again, make sure you go back and understand the prompt. There's no one size fits all for any type of essay. What else is helpful? Breaking down into bite-sized questions, the structure provided for how to coach students through writing these essays seems useful. Pulling apart the nuance and how each college asks their version of the question. Yes, that helps students drill down in the response and have a better understanding of what the college is looking for in the response. Well, thank you. I'm glad I taught you something. I'm glad you gained something. And I just want to remind you all, I don't know you all, but I do know a lot of familiar names here. You know a lot. You really do know a lot. So take the parts of coaching in general, counseling in general, essay coaching in particular, take what you're already good at and grow that and build on that and use where you're confident and make the most of it for every kind of essay. It's been a real pleasure to be here. Thank you again, Cindy, for having me. And if people have more questions, I look forward to receiving them. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for sharing all of this. It is always inspirational and I learn a lot and I know everyone else does too. And thanks for the resources. I've already downloaded them and will enjoy looking at them and going over them. So, and thank you everyone for being here. This is what makes our Friday forums so successful and beneficial. If you have ideas or guests that you would like to suggest that maybe I can invite to be on our Friday forum. I'm now booking out in October, November. Please send them my way. Just send them to Cindy at cindymcdonald.com and Carmen will stick my email in there. And thank you, Susan, for being here and sharing all of this information.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Take care. We'll see you next week with Lisa Marker Robbins, and we're going to talk about career and clarity. And Jeff and Jenny are going to be on this show in September. I have Pardis Madavi is going to come join us. She's from the University of Montana. She and Mary are going to come and talk about higher education, and that'll be one that you'll want to join me with too. So read my website, check emails, and always register. And if you can't attend, I'll send you the link after. So have a great weekend. Susan, have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Carmen, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.